All right, welcome back to another episode of Wilde Sports. I'm Fu. I got my boy Sean over here with me. Before we even get started, go ahead and hit that like button, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about the video. We're going to be breaking down the NFC East. We heard from y'all. We put a little poll up, and the NFC East was the division that y'all wanted to hear a little bit more
It was an
about.
edged it out.
It did. It was very close. So we'll break down the four teams: the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Redskins, and the Giants. So Sean has added a little flair here to our video. So the first team we're going to be talking about, Sean, go ahead and hit it. We're going to be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So we spoke about them a little bit in our first round breakdown. What were your thoughts? What were your favorite things that the Eagles did? Was there anything you didn't like? What were you thinking about the Eagles draft?
Let's see. So what did I like? I liked that they went and got their needs at the high rounds as well. So not only did they get good value for what they needed, they got it at very high value. To think that, a team that was very close to winning the Super Bowl last year lost, some pretty good defensive pieces, and they just loaded back up. Again, those guys are gonna have to come in and perform. It's not college anymore, so we'll see how that turns out. But you wanna run through? We've already kind of done the first two picks from the. We can still run through those though.
Yeah, like you said, I loved it. You can see, linebacker, defensive tackle. I think they got probably the best defensive tackle in the draft in Jalen Carter. Obviously, they're at 9. Like we said, he was a guy that was at one point projected easily as the number 1 overall pick. Some off-season, off-field issues, I think maybe have dropped that draft stock a little bit. But it doesn't take away what he can do on the field. Like I said, just an animal, quick, 6'3", 300. Can do a lot of things on the defense line. So obviously love that pick. Like you said, a lot of value there. Getting him at 9. And then same thing with Nolan Smith out of Georgia as well. I guess what everybody's calling it, Athens North now. Another guy that they pick up at 30.
There's grades of him going top 10 after his combine.
Yeah, we were talking about saying we weren't going to be upset with Atlanta taking him at 8.
At all.
So, unbelievable value. Just the rich getting richer. Knocking it out of the park, like we talked about in that one video in the first round breakdown, that I think they killed it. To me, the best draft, which is scary. A team that, like you said, almost won the Super Bowl, fills needs, and gets them in the first round with great value. Didn't reach to get these picks.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably
they dropped them.
Yeah, they're sitting there probably like, holy cow, we can't believe. I think best case scenario, honestly. I don't really know a draft that, where they could have seen it being any better than it is. So, and then going in a little bit, Tyler Steen, a Bama boy, getting him in the 3rd round. I don't see him as a starter right away at offensive line.
Which is fine for them because their offensive line is one of the best in football.
Yeah,
So if you just learn a little bit, behind some of the guys that have done it for years.
Yeah, and I think they're looking at, maybe future, seeing that Kelsey might be retiring within the next year, a couple years maybe. Kind of grooming a guy that could fill a void there in the years to come.
I got to ask you about their next pick. How many Illinois DBs got drafted?
I'm telling
High.
you, man. I mean,
Like
it was,
high, too.
yeah. I mean, it was a lot.
Granted, I think this was the worst DB they had, which is not saying it's not a diss at all. Clearly,
No,
I think there was 3 ahead of him. I might be wrong with that, but I think 3 were picked ahead of him at the same defensive backfield. But I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the Eagles just lost a DB. I can't remember who it was. One decided to stay and one left. I can't remember right now.
Gardner Johnson, maybe.
Yeah, I think they. Yeah, but I mean, getting this guy here, being a DB in Philadelphia is pretty easy.
Yeah,
I mean, they're Sack City.
Yeah, and that was another thing I want to say. They led the NFL in sacks last year. I think how many they have?
They had a lot.
I want to say it was 77. I might be remembering that wrong, but still,
it was a high amount.
Yes, they led the NFL point blank. So now you just add to that, and
not to mention Jordan Davis barely played last year.
Yeah, he was hurt. So you've got depth at D line. They're adding depth at defensive backs. They added your boy Keely Ringo, which I think's a steal in the 4th round.
I couldn't believe he was still there.
As we were watching it, we're just sitting there watching cornerback after cornerback after cornerback go off the board, and we're like, all right. I know we're biased a little bit in the SEC, but still, I mean, the guy's got size,
speed,
big playability. He's a stud, and they got him in the 4th round.
Yeah, I definitely think that was one of their. If we're talking strictly value, I think that was their best pick.
Yeah, I mean that's
maybe outside of Jalen Carter, but
yeah. So I give them an A+ as far as their grade on their draft.
Oh yeah, they had one of the best drafts of any team. I definitely give it an A for sure, if not an A+ as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked them. So and another they added DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
I guess
they went and traded for Swift too.
Yeah, so they got him. So that's not a draft thing, but I think they moved some draft picks around for that. So to me, that's a part of your draft. They're replacing Miles Sanders.
Yep.
I think I remember
Swift. The whole thing with Swift is he's got to stay healthy. Yeah. Ever since the groin injury in college, he has not been the same back. He's been playing with a lingering issue with his groin since it happened.
Yeah.
I don't care how much time it takes, get it fully good, and then if it's never good again, just do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
So yeah, I think the Eagles. Not really anything bad to say about them in this year's draft. So I guess we'll move on to our next team, which will be
the Dallas Cowgirls.
The Cowgirls out there in Texas.
Their needs were I got these from ESPN, so going based off of them. They said their needs going into the draft for defensive tackle, linebacker, and center.
All right.
So I mean, in the first round, we've already kind of touched on Mozzie Smith during the first round preview. But I mean, he's a more athletic defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a great addition to the D line that's already got some stars on it.
Yeah. I like him. I've seen stuff like a run style. He's athletic, but he's he's a big dude. But you need those big guys up in the middle to clog that up and free those linebackers up. But he also has the ability to make plays. So being that being one of their top needs, I like that pick there. Their second round pick, I'm just not a huge fan of. I know they lost Dalton Schultz.
And that's kind of like, I'm going to cut you off really quick. They were thinking about going tight end in the first.
Yeah.
That was rumored. I'm not going to say I don't know what they were thinking. I'm not in the war room.
Yeah.
It was rumored that they were going to go tight end in the first, go after the Michael Mayer or one of those guys. So I think that this must have been like their next best option, in their opinion. I mean, he's a good fit. He's a good blocker. He's actually a really good blocker and has some pretty good athleticism. But he didn't get many targets and many catches in his career.
Yeah, well, Michigan doesn't really have that offense.
Let's say they're the run and play action to the speedsters. That's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't a terrible pick. I think they could have gotten someone better for themselves. It was a bad linebacker class, like we said.
Yeah.
But that's what they went with their next pick too. Was a linebacker out of Texas, DeMarvion Overshown.
Yeah, and I don't dislike that. He's a rangy guy, athletic, 6'3", about 230. He was a former safety, and I saw a stat that he drops into coverage a lot, and that he had 332 coverage snaps in his career at linebacker, and he gave up 0 touchdowns.
So I think what Dan Quinn's doing here is trying to make a Foyesade Aluakon / Keanu Neal style player here.
Yeah, I can see that, because you've got the edge rusher. He can do that too, obviously, but you got Parsons, who's elite.
Yes.
So I think you bring a guy in there that can help you out. Be versatile. Kind of give you that Swiss Army knife at linebacker and do a little bit of everything. But I think he's either gonna, I don't know. I think he's a high risk kind of guy.
Right.
Because 230 at linebacker, it's kind of small. I mean, it's not like he's tiny, but somebody that converted from safety to linebacker hadn't played linebacker their whole career, and to be thrown into the NFL, it's a different ball game up there. But I don't hate the pick. I really don't. I like the athleticism.
I know there's one guy outside of the 3 rounds that we cover that you want to talk about. And I would love to talk about him, but you requested it, so I'm gonna give you the floor.
The Deuce Vaughn. I think probably one of the biggest hits as far as the storyline of the draft. His dad getting to make the call. If y'all haven't seen that video, you got to go check that out. That's a cool moment. It's
definitely a heart jerker.
Yeah, it's really neat to see that. Not something I think anybody's ever really got to see before, and to get the access of that is just really cool. And a guy that and for y'all that don't know, his dad's a scout for the Dallas Cowboys, and he got to be in the war room and call his son, hey, you want to come work with me next week? So it was really cool. But I mean, I like Deuce Vaughn. You get him in the 6th round. And those Eagle fans, I've seen shades of little what was it, BJ Scott, the old
Boston Scott, yep,
or Boston Scott.
I'm thinking more along the lines of Darren Sproles
or that, but I'm just, I think Scott, they called him the Eagle Killer and Giant Killer. I think he just would always tear it up, and just a guy like that is just so much versatility that I mean, he's tiny, he's like 5'5", but he's just got that breakaway speed. You can't, speed kills, and if you can get a guy in a system that you can get the ball in his hands in space, it can make for an interesting 6th round pick. So I'd be interested to see, against all odds there, what does Deuce Vaughn make of an NFL career? I hope he makes it. It's tough though, he's a little dude, but I saw a thing where he had put up more scrimmage yards than like Bijan Robinson, like a huge list of people. Like he was way at the top. So, and I know college is a different game, but still interesting pick for sure.
So next up, we got the Washington Commanders.
A team that needs a lot. They need.
They
You
need-
should have just put needs everything on
Yeah,
that.
we should, honestly, it should be that. Going into it, corner, center, offensive tackle. But then again, like we kind of just hinted at, it could be a little bit of everything, including an owner and an ownership group for that matter.
Yeah, they're
We've already covered the first round, Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. So they went and got the best available / their highest need, which is, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Then they go and do kind of something else we talked about earlier. They go and grab a Illinois defensive back.
There's another one.
I know, I'm just like so flabbergasted. And then their second biggest need was center, and they went and grabbed Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas.
Yep.
Old Coach Pittman. You can't go wrong with old Coach Pittman O-line.
Coach Pittman. Wasn't he at Georgia before?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. But, I think they had a pretty solid 3 rounds. I think, even though their needs are stated as offensive line and corner, I think, quarterback's a huge question mark there.
Yeah. Sam Howell, I think, is going to get the start. I don't know.
I hope he gets a chance.
Yeah, they went and got him, 5th round last year? And then they brought in Jacoby Brissett in the offseason.
That's right. Yeah. I think that's a great addition.
Yeah, you've got somebody that's got a lot of playing time, a lot of experience, to kind of back that up. If I don't know which one they're planning on starting, I would guess they're going to try and give Howell the reins to start. But like you said, I didn't have any issue with their draft. Like you said, it's kind of hard to say they did anything wrong with having so many needs.
I just realized we never graded Dallas.
Oh.
Let's go ahead and give Dallas a quick grade.
I gave Dallas a B-.
I was at a B, so we're right around the same area. We can continue with the Washington one. I apologize.
No, that's all good. Yeah, I give them a B-. But back to the Commander, like you said, they have so many gaps that it's hard to be upset. They go and get 3 first-day for day 1 starters in the first 3 rounds. So
hard to be upset with that.
Yeah, you got guys that are going to start. Now, does it pan out? We'll see. Emmanuel Forbes, I know, is just way up on everybody's list. Ball hawker, 14 interceptions in 3 seasons, 6 return for touchdowns. But he's 166 pounds.
He's tiny. He's got to put on some NFL weight.
So what are you going to do when he gets against like A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf, or whether they play them or not? I don't know.
Of course. You're just giving examples of bigger receivers.
Yeah, I'm just saying if he's your number 1 guy and he's supposed to cover. There's a lot of receivers that are, big, bigger than 166 pounds. But he did well in the SEC. So
I'm pretty sure Tyreek Hill was bigger than 166.
Yeah, seriously. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it translates. He did great in SEC. How's that? How does it translate? And then they get, like you said, the Illinois cornerback, another day 1 starter, center. I saw him as Mel Kiper had him like the number 1 overall center, and they got him in 3rd round.
Yeah,
so
that's good value.
A lot of value there. One guy I wanted to ask you about in this, I'm not sure if you had anyone else. Chris Rodriguez.
Very interesting.
Kentucky running back.
Yeah, he's an absolute playmaker.
Yeah.
But I definitely think they've kind of got running back on lock.
Well, I was just sitting there. I was thinking the same thing. And, Chris Rodriguez reminds me a lot of Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is a straight line. He might make it 1 cut, but, he ain't taking 180 yards to the house. He's not going to have a touchdown probably ever over 50 yards. He's just not – he doesn't have that speed.
That's not his kind of back, yeah.
And so you're kind of getting the same thing there. But,
And they already shared time with Antonio Gibson too.
Yeah, so I feel like they're kind of stacked there. I just thought it was interesting because I thought Chris Rodriguez was a great running back in college. He always seemed to,
He just had to stay healthy. That's all.
Yeah, he just put up really good numbers. Had a solid career at Kentucky. So,
I mean, yeah. The other guys are, KJ Henry. We heard about at Clemson, the round 5 pick.
Yep.
He was just kind of hidden behind all those monsters.
Yeah.
On the D line. I do think that was a decent pick. I don't really think he's going to pan into the NFL, but that's why you wait till the 5th round and take him.
Yeah, same thing. I saw he was a 5-star out of high school. Had 13 sacks in 48 games. So not anything great, but
Then again, you're playing freaks.
These guys are such freak athletes that you just never know what they end up doing.
Yeah. Overall, I'd probably give Washington. I give them a C+, maybe even a C, because I think they could have gone a better corner at 16 than Forbes, and who am I to say? But that's just my opinion.
They passed up on my boy Gonzalez.
Dude, I can't believe Christian Gonzalez dropped that far.
So for that, I gave him a C-.
Yeah, I think their best pick was the 3rd round.
Yeah, probably most valuable.
For that to be the truth, it's not that good of a draft.
Yeah. All right.
Last but not least,
the New York.
For my cousin, the New York Football Giants.
What about Mr. T?
Yeah.
Mr. T. Mr. D.
Mr. T. I'll take you to the zoo.
Take it to the zoo.
Anyway, so coming into the draft, the needs for the Giants were guard, wide receiver, and corner, according to ESPN, of course.
Yeah.
We've already kind of touched on their 1st round pick in our video, but Deonte Banks out of Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of who was that Dallas corner that one year they literally took him because of his broad jump. Byron something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is I feel like they saw him as a freak athlete, Deonte Banks.
Yeah.
And they're kind of playing off that. They're kind of saying, hey, this guy's a freak athlete. He'll turn into something in the NFL. And it's like, dude, freak athletes are all over the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm not the cornerback guru.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah, I'm not upset at it. Like you said, he's freak athlete for sure. 4.35, 42-inch vertical. Remember when Boss Bailey had a 40-something inch vertical, and we all thought that was just the most crazy thing ever. Now everybody has it. It seems like, I don't know, his might have been more than that, but
then again, the Giants did trade up to go get him. So I kind of have to agree with people who actually do it for a living.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be a good pick.
2nd round pick, the John Michael Schmitz.
I think he played center.
He did.
I'm sure
that he played center and that they might move him to guard, or they might do a little switch around there. So not upset with that pick. And then I love their 3rd round pick.
I do, yeah. Before you get to the 3rd round pick, I just want to say I honestly think John Michael Schmitz is gonna start game 1. I think he's gonna win out the starting job, whether it be guard or center. I kind of feel like it's gonna be at center. But think how young their line is.
Yeah.
I know Evan Neal had kind of a rough year last year. Andrew Thomas had a rough year his first year.
Yeah.
So maybe and Andrew Thomas had a great year last year. I think Evan Neal is going to have a great year this year. And if this kid is half as good as what we're expecting him to be,
yeah,
that's going to be a great offensive line.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that only helps their round 3 pick as well as the brand new paid QB.
DJ. Like, he didn't do anything for like a long time, and he has a solid year and he gets huge paid. I don't know.
Go ahead and hit that round 3 pick.
Jalen Hyatt, man. And for me to be high on the guy, like, I could be completely wrong. I mean, he killed us, like, absolutely killed. I hated him in October, but I just kept watching him through the season, and God, I'm telling you, watching him, he reminds me so much of Devontae Smith. He's just got that. And I sent you that video too of him in that, hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL, and just his attitude is fantastic. I just, I just like him. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's got that deep threat ability. I think he goes into an offense that, like you said, has a great has an offensive line that's being built. A quarterback that seems to be catching a little bit of fire, and then he's opposite of a couple good wide receivers too. And I guess they picked up Paris Campbell.
Yeah,
who's a guy that I think has great speed. I don't think produced a lot in Indianapolis. Like I think he could have.
Yeah, they've been having a quarterback carousel since Andrew Luck. So it's hard to gain a I like the pickup for the Giants. I think he's gonna be what they wanted. I can't remember the kid who's out of Detroit, Galladay. He's gonna be what they wanted Galladay to be.
Yeah. And then Slayton. So you've got two good receivers to come in on. But I just really like Jalen Hyatt. I'm shocked that he dropped to round 3.
Shocked.
But I don't think he has that quick cut, that that shake and bake. Like I think he runs good routes, but I don't see him being catching the ball, making crazy moves, making people miss. And I think he's just going to burn you. He's going to burn you off the ball, and if you miss the route, he's going to the house, because that's exactly what he did to Alabama and a lot of other people this year. He went for almost 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Blitzkrieg winner. I'll never understand how some of these award winners go so late in the draft.
Yeah,
it's
I could see somebody not taking him in the first round, but for him to me to slip out of the second, and all the receivers that we saw taken, we were sitting there watching together. I'm just like, and I remember we said there, I wanted Atlanta to get him so bad. We missed him by one pick.
Yeah,
not to say we would have taken him, but it was just like teasing me. So really like him. And then another one I was just going to mention, I don't know if you got any others, but I liked Eric Gray out of Oklahoma.
I was going to bring him up because I feel like they've never had a pure spell back.
Yeah.
It's always been Saquon, or we're going to have a really rough rushing attack.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Eric Gray is the end all be all for backup running backs, but I mean, he's a really shifty back. Started at Tennessee, moved his way to Oklahoma, earned some starting carries. I mean, he's a small dude. He's 5'9", 207. Not a big guy.
Yeah.
But he's gonna be a good change of pace. It's hard to say change of pace with Saquon. Saquon's power change of pace, the whole 9. But he'll definitely get Saquon a little rest.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Eric on the field, it's not going to be that much of a drop off. From a fatigued Saquon to a very unfatigued Eric Gray. So I thought that was a great pickup, late in the draft, round 5. I think that was a great pickup in round 5 for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I think I'm giving them an A-. They didn't. I think they got every single one of their top needs. They got it.
Yeah.
I think they crushed it with Hyatt, like you said.
Yeah.
The Deonte Banks one, I think it's going to be a good pick. But again, I think they could have traded up and gotten someone better. But for where they were, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah.
which is the 24th pick. So,
and I like what they're
I give
doing
them
with their. I like what they're doing with their defense too. I mean, they've added, you got some young talent in there with Kayvon and Xavier McKinney. You got some good young talent there. So you're
Kayvon's
adding
an animal.
Yeah, he's a monster. So I like what they're doing there. I gave him a B plus.
I'll be very intrigued, and just to kind of give a little spoiler to people. We're going to be doing like record predictions, probably closer to August time.
Yep.
I'll be very intrigued to see, because I mean these are all great drafts. Honestly, I think Washington had a bad one, but who expects Washington to do well these at all anymore?
Rebuilding.
But I'll be interested to see what we come out with for sure.
I will too, but I think that wraps us up.
Sure does.
Another good video. I appreciate everybody that has watched it up to this point. Again, if you'll go and hit that like button, comment, subscribe, let us know what you thought about the video. Any suggestions for future videos or anything you got, let us know. What grades do you give these teams? But that wraps it up for our NFC East coverage, and we appreciate y'all watching. Till next time.